very much. I appreciate everybody being here. We've had a very busy 2 or 3 days. It's been very positive. Things are happening that haven't happened in our government for a long time. The other night, as you know, we had a vote on border security, and I think we want to discuss this just for a second. But the House of Representatives voted 217 to 185, approving strong border security and the money necessary to take care of the barrier, wall, or steel slats, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same. It was a tremendous evening for the Republicans, to be honest with you, because the level of spirit, the level of happiness. A lot of people came out, they said they've never seen, one man in particular, he's been there for over 20 years, he said, I've never seen spirit or enthusiasm like this. They came from all parts of the country. A couple of them came from other parts outside, so I say all parts of the world, in order to vote. And they voted, and it was an incredible vote. And we were told that you would never get the House to vote. Well, we were able to get the House to vote. And it wasn't that we did it, they did it. They were incredible. So I want to thank, in this case, House Republicans, because what they did was rather incredible. And now the Senate is looking at it. We just had a meeting with some of our great senator Republicans, and lasted for a long time. Tremendous enthusiasm for border security. And I think I can speak for them very strongly when I say they want to see something happen on border security. They want the security of safety. They want safety for our country. Drugs are pouring in, and we've done an incredible job considering we have no barrier. But drugs are pouring into our country. Human trafficking is at the all-time worst in history because of the internet. And the human trafficking problem is a problem that has gone on through the ages, but it's never been worse because of the internet all over the world. This isn't the United States, this is all over the world. So we need border security, and the Republicans in the Senate, as you know, are taking it up today. And it's really up to the Democrats, totally up to the Democrats as to whether or not we have a shutdown. It's possible that we'll have a shutdown. I would say the chances are probably very good, because I don't think Democrats care so much about maybe this issue, but this is a very big issue. It's an issue of crime. It's an issue of safety. It's an issue of least importantly, dollars. Spend $285 billion a year on illegal immigration. We have to finally do it. The wall will pay for itself on a monthly basis. I mean, literally every month it pays for itself. So we're talking about small amounts of money. Think of it, we approved, and we got good Democrat support. Military last year, $700 billion. Recently, $716 billion for the military. And here we're talking about $5 billion. So it's a tiny fraction, but unfortunately, they've devoted their lives to making sure it doesn't happen. And that wasn't for what should happen, that was for political reasons. So we are going to be working very hard to get something passed in the Senate. There's a very good chance it won't get passed. It's up to the Democrats. So it's really the Democrat shutdown, because we've done our thing. When Nancy Pelosi said you'll never get the votes in the House, we got them, and we got them by a big margin, 217 to 185. So now it's up to the Democrats as to whether or not we have a shutdown tonight. I hope we don't, but we're totally prepared for a very long shutdown. And this is our only chance that we'll ever have, in our opinion, because of the world and the way it breaks out, to get great border security. Ronald Reagan tried many years ago, got a note from a member of his family, many years ago tried to get a wall. And he fought for a long time during his entire term. He was never able to get a wall. And I consider him to be a great president. He knew what he was doing. We are going to, one way or the other, we're going to get a wall, we're going to get a barrier, we're going to get anything you want to name it. You can name it anything you want. But we cannot let what's been going on in this country over the last 10 years, we just can't let it happen.
Now, Wyoming Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney at that meeting with the president. The Congresswoman, as you know, has just been voted in as the House Republican Conference chair. Congresswoman, is it your sense that this measure, this latest measure, would pass the House as it's built now?
Yeah, hi, Neil. Thanks for having me. Look, in the meeting that we had with the president this afternoon, it's absolutely clear that there's no distance between the House Republicans and the president. We know that we've got to secure our border. So what we've just passed through the Rules Committee is a bill that provides $5 billion for the wall and for border security, provides additional funding, over $8 billion for disaster relief that's really crucial and necessary. And, you know, if you just look at the exchange that just went on moments ago in the Rules Committee, you had my colleagues on the Democratic side saying things like the wall was, quote, stupid, saying things like the wall was, quote, offensive. You know, and we, the House Republicans and the president, know that what's really offensive is a refusal by the Democrats, by Leader Pelosi, to refuse to secure the border. So we are committed to doing that. We're committed to ensuring that that happens. We know we've got no higher obligation, and that's the direction that we're headed in.
Is it your sense then, Congressman, that you would have the votes in the House to get this passed? It would go to the Senate, and presumably with the Republican edge there, it would pass? Or do you know some of your colleagues who don't want this come hook or crook?
Well, look, I mean, I think the Senate is an entirely different animal. You'll have to talk to the senators about what they're planning to do with this. But I know that we in the House take very seriously our responsibility to secure the border. I also know that the continuing resolution that the Senate passed by voice vote yesterday is not something that the president is interested in signing. And we have said all along that we believe that we're going to be able to put something on the floor and pass it. We've actually, just as I said, passed this text out of the Rules Committee that will do our job, fulfill our constitutional obligation to secure our border. And I would also say, I mean, I think it's very interesting to hear Leader Pelosi continue to talk about the Republicans not having the votes. I'm amazed she's got time to focus on that, given the struggles she's having on her side of the aisle to get the votes for her speakership. So we're working hard. We believe in securing the border, and we're going to continue to fight for that.
All right. Well, you have also heard from Nancy Pelosi, Congresswoman, who's saying that this is all on Republicans and that this was overplayed by the president and mishandled by Republicans as well. That it's frustrating Republicans because they don't know where the president is on this, just like they were surprised by his decision to pull American troops out of Syria. They don't know what's going on. Is that a fair criticism?
No. I mean, look, at the end of the day, Speaker Pelosi to be, presumably, I know she's trying to be that, Schumer and Pelosi both, they're playing games. And the American people who are watching this all across the country know the difference between putting a bill on the floor that's going to protect the borders, it's going to fund border security, the kind of bill the president has asked for that we support, and the kind of gamesmanship we're seeing on the Democratic side. Unfortunately, I think it's probably a taste of what we're going to see when they're in the majority starting in January, but you can count on the House Republicans to continue to fight for what we know is right, and there is nothing more important than the security of the nation. So I'm proud to stand with the president on this, and we're going to make sure that we can provide him with the kind of funding we know we need to secure our borders.
I know you don't obsess over the markets. Only nerds like I do who cover them here. One of the things that has been raised, though, Congressman, I don't know if it's fair or even right, is that we are very close to a bear market in some averages, precisely because there is concern that things are just falling apart in Washington, not to mention in some once high-flying stocks, and that Republicans are getting fingered for that. Is that fair?
No, look, Neil, I think that when the American people watch the kind of games we're seeing, you look at that meeting that Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi had with the president where they were just interested in playing games. They were just interested in sort of trying to trap the president and trying to come up with sound bites. What we all know we've got to do is secure the border. That's what the president wants to do. That's what we know we have to do. And so the longer that you see, you know, this threat that the Democrats, the games that they're playing in terms of shutting down the government, the more the American people are going to say, wait a second, you know, we don't want to be in a position where you've got to threaten a government shutdown to get the border secure. We're seeing the caravans. We're seeing the extent to which people are attacking our border guards, and that is absolutely unacceptable from the perspective of our security. So, again, I'm very proud of what we're doing as the House Republicans, and we're going to continue every single day to fight to make sure that we're securing our border and securing our nation.
All right, now I know you're talking about a secure border, and it might be a tad apples and oranges, but do you think the president imperiled that by pulling our troops out of Syria right now and providing an impetus for ISIS either to regroup and, who knows, some of them to get to that very border that you want to secure?
Look, I think they're two separate issues. I think that right now what we're focused on is making sure we provide the resources to secure the border. With respect to Syria, I don't want to see us pull out. I think it would be a mistake. I think we've got to make sure that we do not allow ISIS and other radical terrorist organizations establish safe havens. We've been down that road before. It's not a road we want to go down again.
Sounds like he's going to do it anyway, Congresswoman, right?
Well, I think across the board, we've got to ensure that we're putting the security of the nation first. And my view is that we should not be withdrawing from Syria, that we've got to make sure that we stay there. We don't want the Iranians to be able to create a land bridge. We don't want a situation where ISIS is able to be resurgent. But at the end of the day, we need to be able to do both things. We've got to be able to ensure that we don't allow terrorist organizations to establish safe havens anywhere in the world, especially in the Middle East. And we've got to make sure that our southern border is secure. And right now, the Democrats are standing in the way, both in the House and the Senate, of our ability to do that. So as the incoming chairman of the House Republican Conference and as a proud Republican member of this body, I'm going to continue to fight on all fronts to make sure that we keep this nation safe.
Congressman, we're learning about ping-pong here, and you've been very patient with me, but we're learning that this revamped spending bill is going to be on the floor, presumably in the next 20 to 30 minutes. I assume you will vote for that measure that includes some of this funding, financing. But do some of your colleagues get angry knowing that they might be working through Christmas?
Look, Neil, we are absolutely committed. We had a conference meeting this morning, and the sentiment in our conference meeting was absolutely that we've got to do what's necessary, that we didn't want to put on the floor a CR that didn't address this issue, the CR that the Senate sent over to us by voice vote. And we're committed to being here. We know how important it is. People obviously want to be able to spend Christmas with their families, but we all have a constitutional obligation. We've all sworn an oath to the Constitution, and as I said, there is nothing more important than making sure that our borders are secure. And so we're willing to stay here as long as it takes to get this done. And if the Democrats in the House and the Senate would stop playing games and stop saying things like it's stupid to secure the border, then I think all of us as Americans could come together and do the right thing.
When you say secure the border, I take it that doesn't necessarily mean a wall. It could mean these steel beams or whatever. It seems to be morphing into a different definition of something to keep our border secure. Am I fair in saying that?
Yeah, look, one of the things that we talked about with the president at the White House today was the different types of walls that there are, and I think it's important. Obviously, we've got technology. They've got walls now. We call them walls, and they are walls. They've got steel slats in them. There are different forms that this can take, but there's no question that some kind of a barrier is crucially important, and that we've got to be able to provide the resources for a wall, for a barrier, as well as resources that we need for technology to secure the border by other means. I would also point out that the Democrats have voted for exactly this kind of thing in the past, and it only seems to be now because President Trump is for it that they're suddenly against it. And it's amazing to me every time I hear Minority Leader Pelosi or Chuck Schumer or any of the Democrats, talk about this as immoral or offensive. What's immoral is for those of us who are elected representatives, the people of this nation, not to do our job. And our job is to secure the border, to keep the country safe first and foremost. So we're going to continue to fight for that.
All right, Congresswoman, thank you very much. The House GOP Conference Chair,
Thank you,
Liz
Neil.